Hello, I'm Meryl Lanson. As a concerned fellow citizen, I urge you to vote no in retaining Florida Supreme Court Justices Barbara Periante, Fred Lewis, and Peggy Quince in this November election. A no vote against Justices Periante, Lewis, and Quince is warranted, as these three justices are falsely hiding behind judicial independence in order to politicize Florida's highest court. They have illegally raised more than $1 million in campaign contributions from the special interest group, the Florida Bar, to whom the High Court has sold its independence. In an article published last week by Associated Press entitled "Florida Justices Say Fair Court System Threatened," Justice Lewis was quoted, quote, "Anytime you have the threat of a judge making a decision because he or she is looking over her shoulder or his shoulder as to who has the checkbook behind you the next time around, you've just defined a corrupt system." In the same article, Justice Periante was quoted, "We cannot have a state where judges and justices who are up for merit retention are fearful that they will lose their jobs simply because there is some segment that has money and the ability to speak out that wants to intimidate the third branch of government." Justices Periante and Lewis described the entity holding the checkbook, the Florida Bar, and thus defined a corrupt system. My husband Norman and I are the owners of Barron's men clothing stores. For more than 50 years, Barron's was a mainstay in the Florida retail landscape. We built our small business into 16 locations from Miami to Orlando. We employed more than 200 Florida residents, providing our employees with job security, medical, dental, life insurance, profit sharing, and other benefits. We contributed to local, state, and federal government to the tune of millions of dollars a year in tax revenues. We created charitable foundations to help others and strongly believed in paying it forward, sharing our good fortune so that others too could achieve the American dream. Then in 1993, our world began to crash around us. We were victimized by a convicted embezzler who took advantage of negligent accounting practices on the part of the certified public accounting firm we employed. We were then further victimized by attorneys who represented us and the court system, all whom we trusted to resolve our dispute and to protect our cherished rights. First assaulted by crime, and secondly by abuses of power and authority administered by the system we expected to provide due process of law. In 1998, I first discovered the conflicted relationship between the Florida Bar and its malpractice insurance carrier, Florida Lawyers Mutual Insurance Company. Through nonstop diligent efforts, starting in the year 2000, I petitioned these three justices to do something about the bar's conflicted relationship with its insurance company, which is detrimental to the public welfare. A plethora of documentation relevant thereto can still be found at www.victimsofthesystem.org. Instead, these three justices chose to protect the Florida Bar and its insurance company. In 2000, Justices Periante, Lewis, and Quince denied us our constitutional rights to due process. And now, 12 years later, these same justices, Periante, Lewis, and Quince, are asking the public to give them 6 more years on the job. That must not happen. Certainly, Justices Periante, Lewis, and Quince did not care that 200 Florida residents lost their jobs and security, some which were held for decades. These justices did not care that my husband and our family lost our 50-year-old Florida business, our wealth, our health, our credit, our reputation. These justices prevented the opportunity to continue a Florida family-owned business. Justices Periante, Lewis, and Quince didn't care about the generated revenues to the local, state, and federal government or the charities we supported. These justices didn't care about any of that because they have been beholden to the Florida Bar's checkbook and have been issuing rulings in opposite to the law, but in favor of the bar and its financial interests, such as Florida Lawyers Mutual Insurance Company. We have risked every penny we ever had in this battle. I continue on despite having suffered a breakdown from legal abuse pounded upon us by members of the Florida Bar and the courts. I continue this battle despite my husband and I having been diagnosed with stage 4 and stage 3 cancer in 2011, just 2 months apart. And I carry on even after having undergone surgery this past August 11th to correct heart blockages. I come before you as an individual battling cancer and heart problems while being the sole caretaker for my 80-year-old husband. And I tell you with sincere conviction that nothing, and I mean nothing, we have experienced, from the cancer to the heart issues to being left broke and homeless, compares to suffering from legal abuse by those empowered to protect us from such devastation. Justices Periante, Lewis, and Quince have engaged in favoritism, partiality, bias, and incompetence in their activist rulings from the bench in order to protect the bar's interests to the detriment of the public at large. 12 years ago, Justices Periante, Lewis, and Quince could have spared us such devastation. Instead, they chose to deny us our cherished rights in order to cover up and protect the corruption between the bar and its insurance company. No one deserves such inhumane treatment, especially from our courts. We, the people, have an opportunity to ensure that our cherished rights are protected, free from bias, partiality, and incompetence, and we must be heard at the ballot box. Again, I urge each one of my fellow citizens to vote no in this 2012 merit retention election of Supreme Court Justices Barbara Periante, Fred Lewis, and Peggy Quince. If you are able to support my ongoing efforts, an account, Lanson for Justice, has been set up at Wells Fargo Bank. Thank you for your time, and again, please vote no for Justices Periante, Lewis, and Quince.